All right, hello everyone, and today we are going to create a twister. Yeah, this twister um, will be a little fantasy, so don't, judge this twister, based on the real world and the real physics. Don't comment, no, this is not, correct, and in real world it should be like that. Or I know, but I'm trying to create something, just stylish. And also, I will use Cinema 4D to create the base geometry, and then I will import that into Maya to use Maya fluids to create, the smoke. And then when we render out the image PNG sequences with um, Redshift, which will be insanely fast, we will import that into After Effects and create some lightning effects as well. So I will show you, working in all these um, three softwares, but I'm not going, to go through the process from scratch. I will show the principles, and I'm sharing my files and will show you, each individual separate items and parameters. I think it will be faster. And yeah, let me know, which way you like to learn uh, from my channel, because if you prefer, to go through the steps, from basic, uh, it's completely fine with me, but just let me know. So yeah, first of all, just, as it again, just, just to give you an idea what we are going to learn. We are going to learn how we can convert, this is Cinema 4D, how we can convert this simple, you see this is simple cylinder, just with these deformers, bam, it turns to this one, which you see we will have this cool move. And then I will export the Alembic file and import it into Maya, and then I add this effect, which is Maya float. And I will show you the details and the setting I used for that to see how I created this. After that, when we render out PNG sequences, I will show you, how to create this lightning effect like this, which kind of feels it's inside the twister. It's not, it doesn't feel that it's something, just composite on top of that. And then at the end, this will be the result. Just look at that. Okay, so let's jump into it. All right, to start, I would like, just to tell you something about Cinema 4D deformers. Cinema 4D deformers are great, are fantastic. So you just need to know how you can control them, especially with fall off. Fall offs are something new in Cinema 4D, but they can help you a lot. So just to give you a basic, knowledge about that, I create a cylinder here. So this is a default cylinder, right? So let's say I add this displacer deformer as a child, and then go to the shading and add a noise shader. Okay, this is what you will see, right? This is not correct. First of all, look at these caps. I don't need it. And also, if you look carefully, you will see these kind of strands, these vertical lines, which means I don't have enough subdivisions. So just to keep in mind, whenever you use deformers, you should make sure you have enough subdivisions, to the direction that you want. I'm not saying you have enough subdivisions, evenly. No, subdivision to the direction that you want. So first of all, I will disable caps here simply. I don't have the caps. If I go to display and see the wireframe, this is the wireframe. So it means for this one, if I'm going to see the displacer noise smoother and better, I need some more division. Okay. And also you can tweak the fang tag if you don't like these harsh polygons. It will be like this. So if I turn this off, it will be like this. Cool. But when what does it mean when I say to the direction that you want? So if I add subdivisions, you see a lot here, this will be completely smooth. And if I have less subdivision like this and this side, then you will get these horizontal, probably more close to what we want for the twister. So just a hint that, so it depends on the project you are working on. All right. And it will be totally this, I think, the same idea for all different deformers. So let's say I'm going to add a taper. Okay, I'm putting the taper here. Make sure you fit it to the parent. I can also here, if it's disabled, sorry, go to filter and turn this on, then you can see the deformers. Okay, so if I change this range, you see it started changing. So this is not the direction that I want, right? So you just need to rotate that. I just select that, and while I'm pressing shift key on my keyboard, I will make sure it's 180 degree rotated. Okay, so now look at that. If I put the displacer on top of the taper, it will give you a different result. So that's the point. In Cinema 4D, the order of objects in Object Manager, which is here, this is Object Manager, they are important. So just keep in mind, the order is important. Okay, for now, I will, put it back because I was happy with the result. Okay, so let's see if I add the twister here, what happened. If I go to the twister and then make it as a child again, fit to parent and add, let's say 600. Okay, that's what I see. And this is not what I want, right? Okay, but just what happened if I reposition the twister a little bit? Look at that. You see, this is awesome. So I can easily reposition a little bit, reposition the twister, then it will give you this. Okay, so this is the whole idea, and you can play with all the parameters and to get the perfect form. And for the animation, because if I play the animation, nothing happened. So first of all, you can always play the animation or set the animation in noise parameter. So here you have the animation speed. I will set it to, let's say 3. So if I play that, I will have this, right? Another thing, so for the twister, we need some spinning, let's say spinning. So for that one, you have different options. If I select the twist deformer and rotate that, nothing happened, right? But if I move this to the top and to bottom, you see it's changing. Okay, but the issue is that when I do that, look what happened. I don't have the effect right after the deformer. So if I need to go to the twister and change the mode from limited to, I guess, unlimited. So let's see. You see now it's doing what I need. Okay, so if I, for example, set keyframe here just by clicking this, oops, so I Control Z because I wasn't in first frame. Okay, again, and in frame 90, I will put this here and set key again. All right, so let's play that. See that? Okay. You need you also need to make sure that you have a linear, keyframing. It's just click show F curve, and when you have the F curve, you see that it's not set to linear. Just select all of them and click linear icon. Awesome. All right, so let's see that. I will turn off the deformers, and now I will see this. This is awesome. Okay, so if I add more subdivision here, so let's say I will put it to 30 and this to 150. See? Okay, it start, to shape that form. Another thing you can add, again, it could be because we are going to create something stylish. It depends on your artistic vision. So, for example, the bend deformer, I put the bend deformer here, fit to parents, add a little bend just to see the deformer. Okay, so this is the deformer. You see, this is what it gives me. Also, I can reposition that, put it under the taper, then you will give this. Okay, so now if I change the angle, see what happened, right? So what if I animate this angle and change it to this, and now if I play this again, this is what I have, right? Ooh, this is very crazy, right? Okay, so that's the whole idea. Let me now get back to my scene. So as you see, all the effects, so this is the cylinder and subdivisions. You see here I have 3 to 100, and if I turn it off you will see it better. And just to make it smooth, I put the subdivision surface from here and then make it as a child. So yeah, let me turn on my deformers one by one. So the first deformer was the taper. Okay, this is the taper. Oops, sorry, this is the taper, right? The second deformer I added was the displacer. This is the displacer. The other one is the twist, and you see that the twist deformer here is set to 900. So I guess if we get back to this scene and set my twist deformer to 900, you see it will be way better. Also, if you press Alt key, so just so you know, a short key, a bonus, short key. If I press Shift key, hold Shift key when I'm selecting anything in Object Manager and then click on anything else. So let's say click on this is verify. It will be right, pressing shifting. Oh my god. Anyway, and if I hold Alt key and then let's say click subdivision, then it will be the parent. Okay, awesome. So now this is what I have. Okay, look what we have now. Awesome. This is gorgeous. So just another trick, it will be cool. You can also do this. Let's say I add a vibration tag, see a vibration tag here, to the whole cylinder. So if I add the vibration tag and then go to the position, and here so you see that you don't need the movement in Y direction, so it will be this one and the other one. So let's say 20 and 20, and I don't want it regular pulse, it will be random. You see this is moving, so that's what I need. And if I turn off deformers again, you see that. Okay, so let's get back to the original scene. And yeah, then the other one was the bend deformer, and I added a second bend deformer, just and I also just to show you, I have a keyframe, you see it's changing, everything's changing. And if I show the deformers here, you will see everything, you know, has some keyframe on it, and also a squash and a stretch. So you see what happened when I add this? I just, you know, stretch the whole thing because I realized, okay, it will be more stylish, you know. I like this shape, the aesthetic compared to this one. It's a little fat. I don't like it, but it could be again artistic vision, depends on you. So yeah, and then I, you know, I just create the whole thing and I add this subdivision surface. All right. So when you are done with that, you just need to export the whole thing as Alembic file. And so luckily, Cinema 4D new version has a great, you know, Alembic creator. Just right click on the object you want to create as Alembic and bake as Alembic. That's it. And you see it will go through the process, and it's pretty fast. I think for the whole, all these deformers and this, you know, object that we have, I think it is very fast. So we will export the Alembic into Maya, and you know, it will be very simple. What I will, you know, show you, just so you know, when you create that Alembic, probably you will get a different scale. So you can, you know, select the whole thing and put it in the new file and press S, you know, to frame the whole thing, and you see it will be something like this. All right, and then go to file, export, and export Alembic. Okay, that's all you need. All right, so when you export, bring it into Maya. Now let's go to Maya. So Maya, what I did here, I used simply, you know, this cache, Alembic cache, and import Alembic. If you just drag and import that, it won't be, you know, a correct geometry. It will be a weird result for you. So import the geometry Alembic file through this menu, cache, Alembic cache, import Alembic. When you import that, you create a flood effect. So I will disable this flood and I will hide this by Control H. I will press Shift H just to show you the geometry here. This is the actual geometry I imported into Maya, right? Okay, so you will be creating let me change them, this menu to VFX, and then in float 3D container. Okay, so after 3D container, right? This is the original size. I think it's very important to go with the decent size of the float, because if the size is way big or very small, probably the float simulation, you know, takes a year to be cached. So I don't remember correctly, but I'm sure I rescaled that. So when you import that into Maya, you can rescale that, you know, just to get something kind of close to this default size. And then when you create a float deformer by default, it creates this emitter, which you can delete that. And when you delete that, shift select the guy, and then go here and float, right? Add emitter, and then emit from object. When you set that, you know, it will set that twister as the emitter. Okay, that's the whole thing you should do to start. I would go back to my original one by pressing Shift H. Okay, just to show you now what is the parameters. When you do that, you know, you should have a start from scratch, right? For the settings. This is my setting. I changed the base resolution to 75 and changed the size, you know, to something more vertical, because our object is vertical. and it has is the height is more than the other directions. Also, we don't need any temperature or float, so set them to off. In dynamic simulation, I changed the damp to 0.02 and also change the solver quality to 100. You don't need to change the viscosity, gravity, or anything else, right? And make sure you set the high detail solver to all grids. It's set to off by default. Set it to all grid. Change the simulation rate scale to 1.2 and don't touch these emitting substeps. Substeps is great when you have let's say you have a very fast move or emission, because here we don't have a fast move, so it's just spinning. I wouldn't use substeps, so it will be faster to simulate. And auto resize, very important. Set it to auto resize. Just check this box. And also in content details, in density, this is what I have. I set the buoyancy to 0.1, and also I set the dissipation to 2.5. You see, it's a high dissipation because I want here, I want to disappear the fluid, as it's spinning, because other than that, you will see it spinning and just adding more and more smoke to the twister. And this is not the thing I want, because it will be so unrealistic, and also it will be very heavy. So I don't need that. And I left the other parameters as default, and in velocity I have something around 8 for swirl, and no turbulence, of course, and no other setting. Go to shading. It's important. Shading is important. You can change it, again, depends on your vision, but very low transparency could get you a pretty nice thick smoke. And also here, this is what I have. This is very important. This is the opacity map, and by default it's a one line. It's a linear line from here to here. So I change it to something like this with this number. Okay, 0.4. But again, depends on you. Let's see if I change it, what happened. If I change this, you see, it gives you different result. If I give you to a higher number, it gives you this one. So this is the number. Okay, so this kind of looks good. And the other parameters, I think you don't need to change them, but the only thing it's helpful to have a better visual in your viewport. This is the self shadow. Without that, this is what you will see. But if you turn on the self shadow and also add a little add a little ambient brightness, I think, yeah, because this is the default when you turn off the self shadow. I turned off the self shadow and also with a lower opacity for the shadow, and add a little bit of this brightness. It will be, it's beautiful just in the viewport. We don't care about that because eventually we are going to render that with Redshift, and we won't use the default lights. And yeah, that's it. I think you really don't need to change any other parameters. Once you set this, you just need to cache the fluid. And the reason I always recommend to cache the fluid, because you won't miss the simulation behavior. It will be all the time the same behavior, which is great. And also cache, it will be faster, working in your viewport. So to do that, go to the VFX caching and just hit this button. I won't do that because I'm not going to delete my cache, but yeah, just hit this button. And then once you do that, it will start to, to cache the float. I think I disabled that, yeah. And then you see it'll start to cache the float. By the time, it takes a little time for sure, and it depends on your machine, but at the end you will have, very pretty nice simulation. And I hope I didn't forget any, important thing. Oh yeah, okay, the float emitter settings, that's important as well. Okay, let's finish that. These are, the setting in the actual float shape. And the other thing, if you set the boundary to negative y side, it will be helpful to have a faster simulation. The other thing is the emitter. So what I have for the emitter, this is the setting. You see that? And this is very important, because if you don't change the speed method, from no emission to replace, you won't get the result, because this is how, the float follow the spinning geometry on the twister, on the actual geometry we imported. So I switched the speed method from no emission to replace, and then the inherent velocity, I set it to 60. That worked for me, but depends on the spin, spinning speed. So I set it to 60 and normal speed to 1. And I think you can also add some turbulence, to the emission. So I set the turbulence speed and 1 for detailed turbulence. And that's the whole thing, I changed here. Right after that, I'm sure you will get the same result. Okay, and now rendering that. So Redshift is pretty fast and working very well with this, especially with this new, Maya float. But some people really don't know how to render out my. I'm gonna real quick show you do that. If you open up the hypershade, this is the hypershade, and you just type volume, you will see this Redshift volume. Just click on that, and then select the float, right? Select the float in your outlinear, and then right click in RS volume and assign material to volume, to viewport selection. When you do that, it will assign this, to the float. Okay, now let's see if okay, let me, okay, so because I already did that before, this is what you will see, if you click on this button when you are selecting the RS volume, or doesn't matter, the Maya float, and click on this button, it will give you this. So now okay, all you need is to select the RS volume, and in RS volume setting, sorry, okay, this is not what we want here. RS volume here. Okay, if you select the RS volume and then type here density grid, that's all you need. Density grid with capital G, density grid. If you type density grid, you will be able to see the actual float in your render. But before that, you need put a light, and that light needs some volume effect. So this is the Redshift light I just create here. You go to the Redshift and lights, physical light. I created this physical light, and then here in volume I add this contribution scale and set it to 1. All right, so once you do that, you will see the result, in your viewport. And I'm not sure if I can show it to you while I'm capturing my screen because it will be a little, you know, heavy. But let me see. Aggressive rendering. Okay, so if I come here, uncheck this animation for now, and pull up this one. Okay. Yeah, it's, I think, okay, so yeah, this is it. You see that? Now you can see that. Also, I would hide the geometry. You know, when you are done, you don't need to see the geometry as well. So select the geometry and Control H. So by this way, you will hide that. And now, if I, you know, render that, you will see, this is what you will see. I have two lights, two simple physical lights, one in the right and one in the left. And I have volume on both, volume contribution set to 1, and one has a stronger, you know, intensity and bigger intensity, let's say, with a blue tint in it. And also you can play with this, you know, if I can pull up this RS volume again, just want to show you something that could be helpful. Okay, there we go. So in this RS volume, this is my setting. You see, I set these, you know, to kind of the middle, and something around 0.5 for absorption, and this is important. Advanced, I set the Neomax to 100. By default, it's set to 1, and it's pretty low. So let me show you the result. If you see here, you see that? By default, it's set to 1 and 1. So I don't see anything. Okay, if I change it to 100, you see, it'll start to show me something. And also lower old max, 0.1. Okay, it gives me the result, right? So this is very important, just to make sure. In density remap range, just to remap it, you can set it to a big number like 100 or whatever, you know. So for the old max, I have a lower number here. And yeah, that's it. Another, I mean, tip for rendering the animation, Redshift, you need to set up your render setting here by checking the animation and set the keyframe. So whatever it is, I had 200 frames, I set it to 200, and define, you see, define the location. You can define the location here in file name prefix, and by this way you can easily render out the animation just by going to rendering and render and batch render. And if you press batch render, it will start rendering all the frames, you know, very quickly. And you see this is pretty fast. Okay, awesome. Yeah, that's it. And I think this was the whole, you know, thing for Maya. Now we have PNG sequences. Let me show you. If we go here, okay, so I rendered out all the images. These are my PNG sequences, okay? And as you see, this is the first one, and it goes by this. Very cool, right? Okay. So we import that into After Effects. Okay, this is what we have in After Effects, right? And I will show you the one, you know, just one unit. Let me show. Okay, and this is the result in After Effects, and I just import that here. Okay, if I press 0, you will see, you know, it's playing. And because it wasn't loop, you know, I think it's not a good way to do that. I always prefer to create a longer animation, you know, to avoid doing these fake tricks. So this is fake. You see, somehow it's fading at this time. I don't like it, honestly. It's not, you know, my favorite type of work, but I just did it. So yeah, you can, you know, and I mean, I can show you if I press U, you see for the opacity, I have the keyframe. So I will dissolve the other one on, and on the previous one. So by this way, you know, I kind of, you know, cheat the audience eye. It's such a shame. I know. Yeah. Okay. So, okay. And now we are going to add that effect, right? So this is what I did. Simply, very simple. Look at that. Here, I'm gonna turn off all the extra things here. Okay, this is okay, okay. So I added the adjustment layer, and in that adjustment layer, I added a glow effect, right? Just by right click, and then you can go to the, I think it was in the style, right? Yeah, stylize, and the glow effect. I added this glow effect with these settings, the glow threshold. So if I turn this on, and if I delete the mask, let me, you know, get back to that. And what is that? Why I'm seeing this weird? Okay, yeah, because I changed, you know, this blending effects, blending modes. So I think, oh no, this wasn't the okay, yeah. Oh yeah, I got that. I got that. I also added another thing. Okay, so here is the adjustment layer. You know, when you add the adjustment layer and add the glow effect, this is what you see. If you change the threshold, you see, this is what I see, and it will be affecting on everything. But you just need to affect that on just, you know, just some zone or area of the whole image. So I'm going to mask this. Very simple. If you select this and you see, if I create a mask, it will mask that, and also you can easily feather the mask. My trick. So you guys, you may find a better solution, but it worked for me, you know. It was very simple. And yeah, I just mask it. And just to add some random, you know, effect, turning off and turning on, I found this cool thing in After Effects. If you just type opacity, there is something called opacity flash random. So I just add that to this. See that? If I turn it on, then let me see. If I play that, there we go. You see, it's turning on and turning off, turning on and turning off. Okay. And let me get back by Control Z, because I liked the mask I made before. All right, Control Z, 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 Z. Okay, got it. You got it. All right, for the lightning effect, exactly the same thing, but I just created a different layer and added the lightning effect, because you know the After Effects by default has the lightning effect. Okay, so I added the lightning effect, and then just to mask it, you know, because if you just add the lightning effect, let me just show you here, lightning effect. This is lightning effect, no track. Okay, this is what you will see. Even if I mask it, you know, I copied and pasted the mask I made for the glow effect, and also you see I animate the mask as well, you know, moving just, you know, to follow the twister. So let's say, for example, here, you see that it looks like it's on top of the object, which is, you know, it's not good, it's cheap. So just to as a quick solution, absolutely you can export, some AOV, or I don't know, the render layers to help you out with that. But as a quick solution, I found this. I duplicate the exact same PNG sequences here. You see that? This pre-comp. You will see what I did to that. I added a level and changed this setting, very, very tight. I made it very tight, and by this way it gives you, this very harsh, contrasty, result. And then I just Luma inverted matte this, or probably reverse. Yeah, you see, and I just matte that with this thing. So this is how, I masked it in between, and that's how I got the result I wanted. It kind of looks, it's inside the twister. That was a quick trick, I think, and worked for me. And yeah, another solution, absolutely, you can create all these things in Maya while you are creating the float. But this is, I think this is fake and easy. And yeah, I think that's it. And look at that, that was very good. Yeah, you see, this is, I love how it's follow geometry, and it's inside that. This is awesome. I love it. Let me cache it. And also, yeah, I added, some sound effects and this stuff also. You see it's moving a little bit, the whole thing. So there is something called wiggle position. You can add a wiggle position to your, thing. Anything that you have in, where is that? If I go here, yeah, wiggle position. So this is a default. You see, it's very calm, it's gentle, and you don't feel like yo. And here, this is very calm. Sorry, I still had that. You see that the whole scene is on the wiggle effect. Ooh. Okay, that's what we need, right? And yeah, I think this is the whole thing I wanted to tell you guys. And let's see the final result again, the final export. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed watching this tutorial, and if you like it, just comment, what do you think about that, any suggestion, any idea, and don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, because I have, some plan to create some cool stuff. And also let's see, maybe we can have some great live talking with other artists as well on my channel. And yeah, good luck, and stay home, stay safe.